Hi everybody, welcome to our YouTube channel Transformed. I am Jude behind the camera and right in front of the camera is Muiwa. So here on this YouTube channel we'll be discussing a few topics, big questions of life. We'll also be discussing spirituality and theology and even hidden questions in your heart. So as you listen, like, share and subscribe, I hope you will be blessed.
Yeah, I do hope you'll be blessed too. And uh, as the channel continues, as we release more content, be sure to ask your questions because, like you said, we hope to address the hidden questions of your heart because many people have so many questions and they often don't find answers to them in their immediate sphere of contact. So that's one of the things this YouTube channel is dedicated to. Be sure to put in your questions in the comments anytime you see our videos. It might be about something we've discussed, or it could be something just that you've always thought about. If I just go ahead and add the questions in the comments. Hopefully, you'll be able to reach them in time and answer your questions in episodes soon enough.
Okay, thank you very much. So, to kick off the channel with the first episode, today we'll be talking a bit on spirituality because we mentioned that we'll be discussing on spirituality, theology, and big questions of life. So, just to start off, we'll be discussing a little bit on spirituality for today. So, you can go ahead.
Okay, so like you said, it's always good to, or maybe I'm the one saying that we have said, we've made it plain that we're going to be, exploring, not just discussing, we're going to be exploring spirituality and theology. And, when you say something like that, what I have learned is it's very important to even clarify what you mean by any term you're using. Because I may be saying something, I may use a term in my mind, I see certain things, but a different picture is formed in your mind when you hear those words. So I think it's always good to clarify what is being said. And for me to discuss spirituality, of course, there are so many spiritual traditions from time immemorial. For some, spirituality involves maybe connecting to nature. There are those who say spirituality like that. For some, spirituality involves connecting to something that is beyond and above them. Sometimes they use the technical term transcendent. For some, spirituality might mean digging deeper into who they are, discovering something about them that is not readily obvious, but it's deep in who they are. So, just to name a few, there are so many ways you can think of spirituality. And I wouldn't say any of those are wrong. The big thing you can already learn from that, and which you probably learn in other issues, are that uh, many things are not necessarily wrong unless you take them from their proper place. Let's start with seeking to connect with nature is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad spirituality. Some traditions who explore other kinds of spirituality might maybe downplay that or even declare it to be wrong. But not so. You are part of this world, so what's wrong in connecting with it? But how you connect is always important, and what you give to that kind of connection. Do you make it the be all and end all of your spirituality? If that's the case, then you are probably heading in a wrong direction that wouldn't serve you in the long term. Is there something within yourself, to flip the question around? Is there something within yourself that needs to be discovered? Maybe there is, because sometimes fear experiences shut our real selves up, and it never gets expressed. So it might do you well to actually find out who you are, and it's a good thing if you do. But if you then say that, oh, the- how you feel, your deeper most feelings are the real you, those can be questionable, because the human being really has so many crazy feelings that if you make the deepest feelings and your deepest impulses the real you, you can really get into trouble along those lines. Likewise, you want to connect to something transcendent or something beyond and above, a higher power, stuff like that. What sort of higher power you connect to also matters. So what place and how you engage with whatever forms of spirituality you are exploring matters. Just to give a very practical example, there are people who, in whichever they are seeking, either trying to connect to a higher power, the transcendent, something beyond and above, or to the creation at large, or to find something deeper within them, they explore drugs as their means of making that connection. Drugs alter your physical makeup, and when your physical makeup is altered, for many people it's always difficult to get back to the stable and saner self. So when you seek spirituality via such means, for example through drugs, it's damaging to the human makeup, and you actually lose your humanity. You end up not being useful for yourself or for anyone around you. So such forms of spirituality are clearly bad, though many people exploit it today. And that's just a good example of ways you could get spirituality wrong. But to put a simple description to what spirituality is, spirituality, like I once explained to someone, is more about going beyond the material, the things that give life meaning, beyond the food you eat, the water you drink, the clothes you wear, the cars you drive. You know, there are things that are much more than what you consume, that you use up. There are things that make life much more meaningful, much more richer than those things. And spirituality is about getting in touch with those things, or enjoying those things that are not physical, they are not material, but enjoying, getting to connect with them and enjoying them. Like I explained to the person I was explaining to earlier, that I referenced earlier, spirituality can mean developing deep relationship with a friend. It actually can mean that. If you've ever spent time having a very rich conversation with a friend, someone who understands you and who you understand, if you've ever had a moment of deep conversation with them, you find that you go into a mode, a mode you don't want to come out of. It's not, time passes by before you realize it. It's a very edifying conversation, and in those moments you feel in touch with something much more meaningful than anything you come across in the everyday life. And that's just one aspect. You can also experience that, being in touch with something beyond the material, by God, connecting with God. You can also make such connections. Those connections, those interactions, they enrich you much more than the everyday mundane stuff. So that's one way to look at spirituality. And then just to maybe bring in the theology part, because like we said, we'll be addressing both spirituality and theology, but we won't talk much about theology today, just except to say that it provides, theology is there to provide a framework, a bulwark for the spirituality, because the spirituality is the real thing, not the careful thinking. Yeah, the careful thinking is good, but the actual connection, the actual experience is what everyone longs for. But because the spirituality can go haywire, it's a very delicate area. Theology is to help us, guard against losing it, against walking away from meaningful, actual meaningful spirituality and into things that take us down dark alleys. So that's what the theology is for. While not describing what theology is, we've at least specified what it is for. And like I said, it's to make sure our spirituality stays in confines that make sure it ultimately benefits us, and not stuff, and not that, so that we don't get into things that ultimately are just damning to the human being. So I think that's a good way to explain both spirituality and theology. And hopefully that is enough for today. In our next video, we'll be addressing another topic. It might be going more into theology, or just doing theology itself, or doing spirituality itself. So I hope that blessed you. Have a wonderful day.